Welcome to the Aura Evolution Podcast, a sacred place for you to return home to your soul. I'm Helen Yeplan, founder of Helen Creates Beauty and the author of the Aura Color Wheel. This podcast is a sanctuary from soul discovery to soul mastery. Each week, we explore aura wisdom, spirit connection, and energy tools to help you embody your light and live your soul's purpose with clarity, joy, and fulfillment. Take a deep breath. Welcome home.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aura Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Helen Yeplan. This is our episode 9, and today we have a special guest, Kara Goodwin. And before I bring her on, if we have met the first time, I am the founder of Helen Creates Beauty and the author of the Aura Color Wheel. As a result of my work, my clients find and live their soul's purpose with clarity, joy, and fulfillment. I work with spiritual seekers, creatives, and entrepreneurs to channel their full spectrum of light into purpose and beautiful soul expressions. So, are you ready to unlock our soul's purpose together? Awesome. So now this show is live every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if you are with us live today, feel free to ask any questions related to the topic we're talking about. And, our guests and me will answer your questions there. And if you have any questions later, if you are watching the recording, you can leave the comment in our YouTube channels. I believe that it's broadcasting to both my channel and also Kara Goodwin's channel today. And so also Tuesday, the audio is available on all platforms you want to listen, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify. Okay, so before we begin our conversation today, I want to announce a very special surprise, even to myself, is that I just participated in the 24th annual Conscious Life Expo in LA, and I got a book award for the Aura Color Wheel book. It's the third place. I'm very grateful and honored to participate in this collective high consciousness gathering. And I also had a talk on the Aura Color Wheel last Friday. So we have a videographer actually tape the full, discussion and talk. So I will put it on my YouTube channel soon. So for those of you who cannot participate in person, you're able to watch that as well. So I'm really grateful for those of you on my email list who have voted for the book. So as a gift from my soul to yours, I have a membership called the Aura Evolution Sanctuary. Let me see if I can. Here we go. So it's a monthly sacred gathering that I offer to my community to embody the lessons and the knowledge that we learn from the Aura Color Wheel system. So it's a meeting on every first Thursday of the month, and I'm giving you our first month free as a gift for people who have voted for my book. I'm really grateful for you. And here's the link. I'm going to put the link in the comments so you can grab it. And it's first month off, and we're going to talk about how to quantum jump into the next version of you. Okay, so let me put it in the comment. All right, that's it. Let me remove these. I'm back. Okay, without further ado, I would like to introduce you my special guest today. Kara Goodwin is the host of Soul Elevation Podcast. It's a wonderful podcast, and actually I was a guest on her podcast, and that's how we connected. We have such a soulful conversation. So if you are listening to my podcast, go hop on her podcast as well. She explores ascension, spiritual awakening, energy healing, extraterrestrial I always cannot pronounce that word. It's basically ET connections. We're all star beings and consciousness. As a skilled spiritual and meditation guide, Kara empowers others to deepen their spiritual connection through transformative practices. Her debut book, Your Authentic Awakening, A Guide to Everyday Spiritual Living. I even love the title because it's about the everyday. Provides a roadmap to embracing a spiritual awakening and authentic life. Through her work, Kara inspires others to elevate their souls and align with their highest potential, such alignment with the Aura Color Wheel system. So, welcome, Kara. I'm going to bring you on stage.
Hello.
Here you go.
Hi.
I'm so grateful you're able to hop on with me live, Kara.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You've been on my podcast twice because we did that live stream.
That's
So
right.
it's always a joy to connect with you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much. I would like to begin our discussion with the first question. I asked this for all the guests who are on. It's like, have you taken the Soul Aura Color Quiz? What is your result? How do you resonate with the reading?
Yes, I did take it, and I was blue. I was a teacher,
Yes.
and I think my soul wound was red, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I do resonate with that. I am a spiritual teacher. I love connecting with people and sharing information. When you were on my podcast, at that time, you were perceiving like a teal color.
Turquoise, yeah,
Turquoise.
Exactly. A shade of blue. That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
a
Yeah.
turquoise color. And that
Yeah,
really
turquoise.
blew me away because when you shared that, it was actually later after we'd finished, and I think it was a few days later, and I realized how special that color was for me, turquoise. Because I don't even think I have like a quote unquote favorite color. And I had been thinking about that, where I was like, oh, I don't really have a favorite color. I like all the colors. And then when I thought about turquoise, I was like, now that's a special color. Like that's just a really precious color. And then I was like, wait, that's what a favorite color is.
Wow. Okay. Here we go. It rings something in you that resonates. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah. From our interaction, I totally think that you are the teacher archetypes. Otherwise, you wouldn't have your podcast to begin with, right? That's a way of having conversation, and that's also when your blue chakra is lit up. You communicate with other souls. So I'm really curious about your personal journey, Kara. Like, what brought you to today? What you're doing today?
Well, in a sense, I've always been interested in spirituality and kind of what is happening under the surface of reality. When I was young, I was always drawn to those types of things, like mysterious things, like what's going on in the Bermuda Triangle and Loch Ness Monster, and all of those like weird things that we couldn't explain and even decide if they were true or not. People couldn't agree if it was actually true. But as I got older, I felt like I quote unquote outgrew it. As I got to a certain age, I realized that a lot of people that I was connected with, like they didn't care about those types of things. They weren't talking about those kinds of things. If I initiated the discussion, it didn't go anywhere. And so it was like, oh, maybe I think on a subconscious level, I was kind of like, maybe I need to grow out of that. And so I kind of hid that side of myself, and I'd still read a book here and there of interesting things. But for the most part, I tried to kind of get over that part of myself. And, I was in a corporate job that was very mainstream life. I have a husband and 2 kids, and just kind of moving through life as a regular person. And
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Right. And then in 2016, my whole life just completely changed really rapidly. So a lot of family members were either dying or getting really sick or having serious accidents. And it was just happening one after another. It
Wow.
started with the suicide of my sister-in-law, and she was a really dear friend of mine. And she was about to get married and had 2 small kids. It was just really very, very tragic.
Mm.
And then 3 weeks after that, our dog passed away. And then
Wow.
a few weeks after that, my stepdad had surgery on his brain stem because his health was deteriorating, and we didn't know what would happen with that outcome because that's such a vulnerable place.
Right.
Luckily, he is doing well now,
Mm.
more or less. And then my mother-in-law was hit by a motorbike when she was crossing the street.
Oh my gosh.
And so she was in the hospital. And then my stepmom had a heart failure, went into the intensive care unit, and was saved by a heart transplant. But in order to get to the top of the heart transplant list, you have to be in a really bad state. So all of that happened within a very short amount of time. And my husband and kids and I were living abroad at the time as well. So we
Wow.
couldn't even like easily help with everything or be near our family as they were going, to support them and to be supported, to kind of circle the wagons. That was difficult to do because our life was in Italy at the time.
Mm.
And so it just really, of course, you start feeling insecure about what life is, what's coming next, how,
Right.
and honestly, I remember at that time just trying to put one foot in front of the other and being like, just this day, let me just get through this day and hope that nothing else happens.
Right.
And, wake up the next day and really hope that there were no surprises. And ultimately, there were many surprises. Most of those days I did not get not surprised. And that's just our immediate family. I also it was just such a trying year. We also had a really dear friend who had been in our wedding, who was diagnosed with a brain tumor that year and passed away the next year. And so it just seemed like everything was cursed. And
Yeah.
right. And so I really turned to meditation. I'd been interested in meditation for a long time, but I had kind of tried it, spitballing around, like, oh, what's up with this meditation thing? Let me try it. And didn't really feel like I got anywhere with it, didn't know what I was doing, didn't take it very seriously. And so, I went through a few phases where I was like, oh, I'm gonna really learn this meditation thing now. And then I, do it for a few days and give up. And when all of this came crashing down, I was like, okay, I really need something. And I've always been interested in meditation, but I'm going to learn meditation and hope that it can just help me cope with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And so that was when I got a teacher and I learned a method and I got serious about meditation. And when I learned meditation, I was really, again, just really wanting to feel better and I didn't even have the language for it, but, now I would say I wanted my nervous system to be soothed. And I was just looking for some comfort for like emotionally. And so it was a very practical reason to get into it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't interested in the spiritual side of it,
Yes.
or at least not consciously.
Mhm.
And that developed a little bit later. And then it came on full force where it was like, oh my gosh, there is like eventually my life really changed and I became much more spiritually oriented and really focused on living, with a deep connection with my higher consciousness and in accordance with what I think my soul is here to do and to why I chose to come here at this time and to try to live my life in accordance with that as much as I can. But it all began from a very just from wanting to feel better, as things came crashing down.
Yeah. It's like the dark night of the soul. It's so interesting when you share our path in finding meditation is actually very similar.
Yes.
I had like anxiety and depression episode, real bad, panic attack, went to the ER. and then like I need to heal. The same thing, I don't know have any language, very practical reason. I get into meditation because there was a yoga studio just down on the street and I hop in and I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm starting to solve, I need something, and I begin to meditate. And that's when I began, I have no idea. Same like you, had no idea that I'm going to have spiritual awakening whatsoever. All I want is that I don't get anxiety and depression. I just like be okay, right? So yeah, I think that was like I don't know whether that can be called like the dark night of your soul, a wake up call, right? So it's like something, it's like waking us up. Hey, you better change. This is not your soul's trajectory. You need to do something else. And you mentioned that you find meditation and you find a teacher. Is it like what type of that specific meditation is? How do you come across it? Is it like a one-on-one thing, or it's more like a thing that you browse, like you find it online, or is it a local, is it a group meditation? I'm curious to know that.
Yeah. So it was a group that I found online, but it was really interesting in hindsight as it all happened, because I distinctly remember walking back from dropping my kids off at school, and I was walking home and I'm having this conversation in my head with God. And I hadn't talked to God in a long time. And I used to talk to God before I would go to sleep at night, and I would talk to God throughout my day, and again, outgrew that.
Yeah. Did you grow up spiritual or religion in your household?
We had a little bit of religion in our house, but not really. I mean, we would go to church sometimes, but we were not like regulars. And I was still very interested even in church, but it didn't really make a lot of sense to me at the time. So even though I was like, oh, we're talking about God, I want to know about God. But I couldn't really follow what they were trying to say. It didn't like connect with me very deeply. But I felt that I had a personal relationship with God as a child and a little bit into my teens. And then again, like I can't remember, I feel like I maybe came across some quote unquote research that talked, that said prayer doesn't work or something like that. I can't remember, but there was some point when I decided to stop praying or talking to God. And my prayers were kind of just conversations with God really in my head. And, but I hadn't done that in a long, long time. And I'm walking back from taking my kids to school, and I was having this conversation with a being I didn't even know if they existed. And when I look back, because it's so funny in hindsight to be like, is that true? Like, was I not sure if God existed? And I think that I believed in God, but I didn't feel seen or worthy of God's help, or, because I hadn't been living in a way that was, I wasn't following the rules. I wasn't trying to get closer to God. So I just felt like, yeah, he's probably there, but I doubt he knows who I am. I don't know that I'm on the guest list of,
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's such a deep insight to just aware of it. Like now, of course, at that moment, you wouldn't fully understand what that means. Is that like we humans always feel like we need to constantly prove ourselves almost, or absolutely have to do something in order to deserve, God's grace, God's love, and all of that. But we forgot that we were born with it. It's inside with us. So that's why when you feel like I believe in it, I know that I have that connection. But at the same time, because that human self that comes in and saying that, oh yeah, because I'm not following all these 1,000 different rules, so I don't know, it's like, why do we need to be so constantly proving that we deserve it? Because it's already inside with us. That was absolutely beautiful, Kara. Thank you for pointing that out, actually.
Thank you. Well, and it's interesting too with you asking, did I have a religious background? And I wonder, did I have just enough to know that there were rules, there was dogma, there were ways to be close to God and to earn your way into heaven and into God's heart. And I knew I wasn't doing those things. And so it's kind of like, did I have just enough exposure to it to like hold me back and think I wasn't worthy? Um, but I thought, there's a sports term to which is taken from religion, but it's a Hail Mary,
Oh,
like
yeah.
in sports where it's like if you just throw, it's like the final seconds of the game and you're just like, let me just throw this really long pass and it's unlikely that it's going to do anything, but it's my last shot.
Right.
And so I feel like I was just throwing a Hail Mary of like, hey, what's it going to hurt? I
Yeah.
don't know that anything's going to come of this, but let me give it a shot. Hey, God, remember me? We used to be tight. But, and so I just kind of said, I am drowning here. I need something. And I think like I feel like meditation could be key for me. And if that is true,
Mhm.
then lead me and be
Mhm.
obvious with it. Because the thing is, I was living in Italy, as I said, and I had been invited to a meditation group prior to this, and I was very interested in it. But when I showed up, everything was in Italian, and I spoke Italian, but not from my heart. It was a very mental um, thing. I had to think really hard when I spoke or listened to Italian. In fact, listening to it was harder than speaking it. I could speak more easily than I could understand it when it was spoken quickly to me.
Mhm.
And so I did go once or twice to this meditation group, but I remember I kept having to kind of like open my eyes a little bit to make sure. I kept getting this sense that like, okay, is everybody like they're done with the meditation, but I didn't understand. And they're all looking at me, waiting for me to open my eyes now because I'm not following the instructions. The same thing had happened with yoga classes I'd tried to go to. It's like I just
Yeah.
couldn't like really drop into it.
Right.
And so that was one of the parts of this conversation was like, make it, if this is really the right path for me or the right next step, help me to find the best next step and let it be in English.
That's right. That's why you brought back because of the family ties. You brought back, to US, from
Yeah.
Italy. Yeah.
Right.
What is the turning point? You started meditation, and then you said that later on it brought all this spiritual awakening, your connection with high consciousness. What is the turning point of that? From practicality, just want to heal yourself or calm down your nervous system, to actually starting to know God.
Well, I think there were a few different little turning points that kind of cracked me open a little bit at a time. And again, some of it's in hindsight that I'm like, oh, once that happened, I opened up more. But I started having some unexplainable experiences within my meditation. That was kind of the beginning part where the first thing that I really remember that wowed me was having, I had my eyes closed and I was meditating, and I would think I was just listening to a recorded meditation or I was doing like a short, just self-guided. I can't remember those details, but
Okay.
this light started, I had my eyes closed, but light started coming from the top of my head down through my body, and I could see it inside. It was like my inner eye was, I didn't know what any of this was, but it was like I could see inside myself. I could see this light coming down, and it was warm, and it felt like it was amazing that this light was that I could perceive it anyway, but it also it felt intelligent, like it felt loving. It felt like there were characteristics to this light
Yeah.
that were, it was a lot for me to wrap my mind around, but it made me burst into tears. It was so beautiful, and it was unexpected. And I just felt, and that was quote unquote it. There wasn't that there was, it wasn't that a being emerged from this light or anything, but that was kind of my first like wow moment. And then I had some other moments where, one that comes to mind is where I was getting this sensation of lifting. I was focused at the third eye, the point between the eyebrows, and then it felt like my awareness was just being lifted higher and higher and higher. And there was a part of me that was focusing on that, what was happening and experiencing it. But I also kind of had to keep my focus there in order for it to keep happening. Like I knew I could distract myself and it
Mm,
would stop.
mhm.
But I was like, oh, what's happening? I feel like I knew I was still seated, but it felt like I was levitating.
Right, right.
But it was my awareness. And then I lifted, it was like I reached this ledge almost where like once I
Right.
got to a certain point or a certain height
Mhm.
in this awareness rising, it was like I could sit on top of this level or something.
Right,
And I
right.
had like 360-degree perception. And it's really difficult to put into words, but it was like, what is happening? This is amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I didn't see anything. Like I think I moved into a different dimension. Like from
Yeah.
what I understand now, I it felt like a different dimension, but I couldn't like see anything. It wasn't like, whoa, now I'm on a mountain and look, there's, Buddha or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It was
Uh-huh.
just this perception. I couldn't, but it was really strange how it was like this action of lifting, feeling that lift, and then reaching like I don't want to say a plateau, but like a plane,
Mhm.
reaching some sort of plane, and then being able to relax into it. And I was like at that level. So that was another experience. But one of the things that really opened me a lot was I went on a spiritual retreat,
Mhm.
and this was a group that was keeping the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda alive. So, and it was not the Self Realization Fellowship. This was a different group that,
Mhm.
and they had a place in Italy. And I went to Assisi, Italy, with this group, or to stay on their property. And
Mhm.
there was this teacher that, because I was taking a workshop, and I
Mhm.
loved this woman. She was just a really amazing woman, and she was a healer.
Mhm.
And but I wasn't taking a healing class. But she came up to me in the cafeteria and was like, "I never do this, but I am being guided to tell you that I'm a healer and ask you if you want to have a session, and
Oh.
don't feel any obligation." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'd love that." I had never had a healing session before.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Yes, I wanna do that, but I'm not sick. Like, should I like, do I need to be sick or have
Yeah, yeah.
something wrong with me in order to do this?" And she said, "No, we call it a healing session, but it heals you body, mind, and soul, and so we're not trying to cure something in particular. The
Mhm.
right thing will come through at the right time."
So more
So
like energy
exactly.
balancing rather than, yeah, physical, symptom healing.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. And so I had this session with her, and I have to say, in this workshop, I was like the star pupil, because everybody who was there was like, they were just kind of there checking things out, but I was actually a student of Yogananda's. So I knew his, and he's been dead, since
Yeah.
1952, but his teachings live. And
Mhm.
I was very familiar at this point with his teachings, and I had taken other workshops about his work, and I'd read a lot of his material, listened to a lot of his talks. Um, and so a lot of people, they were hearing a lot of things about Yogananda for the first time, and I knew a lot of this stuff, and that had come to pass, like that had become obvious as we went through the workshop. She knew that I already had some foundational information that other students didn't. And so it was interesting when she was doing this healing session. She was going through my chakras from the base of the spine up, and she
Mhm.
got to my heart and she said, "You're not praying before you meditate. You really need to pray before you meditate. That's going to open you up in a
Wow.
whole new way." And I felt so exposed, because she was absolutely right. I wasn't, because I was very interested in all of this stuff, but I wasn't convinced about the spiritual side, even though I was starting to open up to it. So the way that they prayed to the lineage. And
Mm.
even though I really respected all the teachers and the gurus and everything, I still wasn't 100% sure if it was for me and if it was in my best interest to pray to them and to invoke their presence.
Mm.
And so I would go through the motions when I was meditating with the groups and stuff, but on my own, I would skip that part.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Wow.
And
Okay.
it was just
She picked that up. Okay.
she picked it up and she shouldn't have expected that. Like based on just the, I mean, you know how it is, like you people who are intuitive, they just know it.
Yes, that's right. Uh-huh.
But for me, like if I'm trying, because I'm still in that at that time in my life, I'm very rationally brain, and very linear thinking and like skeptical. Even though I was excited to have this experience with her, I was also like, I don't know. Is she just saying, does she say this to everybody? Blah, blah, blah. But when she got to that part, I was like, there's no reason for her to logically think that I don't pray. I would be the one in that group that you would think was following all the rules.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I very well knew I was supposed to pray.
Right, right.
So that caught my attention and reinforced with me, like, okay, I do need to open my heart. I need to work more in my heart, open up more. But that I feel like was a pivotal experience. And I learned energy healing after I had that session. I got deeper into energy healing. And so again, there were many things along the way and that helped me to open up to my spiritual nature. But that was definitely a big one where I was like, okay, something bigger is happening. And then, in my introduction, you talked about star seeds. We're all star seeds to a certain extent. And this lineage where I had begun my spiritual journey, where I was learning meditation, they were not into any of that. It was a very grounded, very, very spiritual, but not like any galactic thing. And at one point, again, kind of early in my experience, one of the few visuals that I had was seeing a galaxy spinning from a distance and like this spiral galaxy. And I was like, why am I seeing that? I wasn't really interested in space. I didn't even believe in aliens at that time anymore. Believed in them when I was young.
That's right. Yeah.
But and I asked one of my teachers about it. I was like, I'm seeing this. It looks like a galaxy and it looks like I'm looking at it from a distance. What is that? And he was just like, that's interesting, but don't, just let it go. And didn't have any kind of explanation. So it took a few years before I even understood that there was an ET or galactic aspect to spirituality, which then became a very important part of my work also. But so it's fun how that stuff just organically and naturally comes up and through time, reveals itself.
Right. From that early, almost like a astral travel type of experience, that's the elevation. I think that's what you were experiencing to later on, had this vision, although not many, but, very significant to you. You kind of connected back to, now I feel like you embrace all spectrums of spirit beings, in the spirit realm. Now, also, based on the title of your book, The Authentic Awakening, and how you describe your personal experience, I find it kind of really grounding. Although, you can connect with them, but in a very like day-to-day, like an authentic way, exactly like how you explain it. How would you say that for people or souls who are currently, I call them soul wounds, basically, like currently working through their personal soul wounds, and in the times that are really dark? It's almost like at the time that you are at the dark night of the soul, we all kind of go through it. But if you are in the middle of it, what are some practical, or how can we construct our reality into a higher experience, or basically not force, not like just positive thinking, because you're scared, you fear, you don't know what's going on. what would be your advice for that, like how to navigate those dark times?
Yes, it's such a great question for the times that we're in. I mean, always like life
Exactly.
shows up, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But,
Yeah.
one of the things that often I will advise, and people are often surprised, and for me, it seems like such low hanging fruit,
Mm,
but prayer and
yeah.
asking for help,
Right.
remembering that we have a divine team, that we have higher consciousness.
Right.
Every person has a higher level of consciousness. They might explain that or understand it as a higher self that they might see as kind of connected to them, but a different, also existing in another time and space. And we have the help of angels and archangels and star beings and
Mm,
healed and well and complete ancestors,
yeah.
um, and they're wanting to assist us. And more than that, for many of them, they evolve as they get the opportunity to help us.
That's
So,
right.
coming from the corporate world, um, I had a review at, for the in the next year for the previous year, and I had to explain how I added value and how I helped and how I moved the needle in a positive way. How did I contribute?
Hmm.
And I had to be active in order to do that. If I just sat and let, the day pass and didn't really lift a finger, I didn't have anything I could say like, "Oh, I helped in this way and I was valuable and useful in this way." And so it is with our spirit teams. They want to evolve.
That's
And I
right.
think that we are also here to evolve from a soul level. This is why we came into the human body, and we're all doing it differently. We all came to have different experiences. We came to have different challenges, but it's through our challenges that we get the opportunity to evolve.
Hmm.
And when we allow others to help us, then we are allowing them to benefit also from the experiences that we're going through. So, just like, my cautionary tale of walking, back from my kid's school and being like, "Hey, I don't even know if you know who I am. I'm probably not worthy of this, but can you help a sister out?" Like, times are
That's
dark.
absolutely amazing. Yeah, exactly. That openness, that
Yeah,
open to receive the permission. Basically, that's the
yeah,
permission. You're giving
right,
them the permission slip to step in and give you clarity or guidance. And that's actually the first step to connect with your spirit guides. That's
right.
exactly what I explain in the Aura Color Wheel book. That's why this podcast is literally called Aura Evolution, and why yours is called Soul Elevation. Now I can see the connection over there, right? It's all about evolving. And I also
Mhm.
explain, oh, that's so funny because it's a synchronicity. My episode with Lavender just aired, and exactly what you were saying about connecting with your spirit team for guidance. That's literally the clip she clipped out for the whole hour interview of
Right.
me talking about the different types of spirit guides, exactly like you explained, the archangels, the star beings, and the ancestors who have evolved enough, not the ones that have a lot of still soul wounds and soul lessons. They might, immediately go back to the incarnation round, but the souls who have enough evolved enough that stay in the spirit realm to guide our family lineage. That was such a synchronicity,
I
Kim.
love
I was like, oh
that.
my gosh. And it's such a low-hanging fruit, just like you mentioned. But most of the time we forget about it. So
Yeah.
that's a great reminder. I even remember that there were times when my husband and I was desperate. He was the one to remind me to let's pray. And
Ah,
I'm like, wow, oh my gosh, that's right, But that was early times. Now I pray every day. So
yes,
it's like once we awaken, we know that that's how we talk. I even
right.
talk to my angels like, hey, Michael, what's up? Like, I even talk to them like friends, just like you said,
Yeah.
like a conversation. And sometimes before I kind of be self-conscious because it's kind of like I'm talking to air, like from the outsider
Yeah.
point of view. Now I'm like, I'm natural. Like I even teach my students to do the same. I'm like,
Oh,
talk to
wow.
your guys as you're talking to a friend. And just that
Yeah.
imaginary friend, it doesn't matter. Don't bother other people and keep this conversation going. And that's when you feel like you're kind of guided and synchronicities happen. Like you're introduced to these right people or these opportunities, and that step by step, you're getting out of that, the dark hole, right? The
Yes.
darkness of the soul.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So what would you say, Kara, what is the role, like, if we're all light workers, right? If we're drawn to this work, of course there was part inside of us that we're drawn to the light work, working our own light. But what is the role of this shadow? You mentioned that, we have the shadow to kind of help us evolve, but also the suffering is sometimes unbearable. Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, why is it so significant? Like, why is still dark side or the shadow side of the work? What is the, this polar opposite? What is the role of the shadow work in our soul's evolution journey?
I love this question. And I heard recently I can't remember where I heard it, but it's not mine originally. But anybody who thinks they're a light worker
Mhm.
is a shadow worker. If you're doing it right, you are also a shadow worker. It is both. And I have had times in my journey, especially the earlier times, where I was like, it's all love and light, and I'm only paying attention to the light. I'm going to focus on what it is that I want. I'm going to ignore what it is that I don't want, or the things that I see that I don't like. I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to really just stay locked in on the light. And I was like that for quite a while. And I didn't want to go into the darkness. I had no desire to go into my shadow or like focus on the shadow of culture and society and all of that.
Mhm.
And the shadow found me. It was in I was having this beautiful metaphysical experience. I think probably would call it an out of body experience, but I also could come back into my body. Like I knew that my body was still, I was in that state between sleep and wakefulness. I
Yeah.
definitely wasn't dreaming, but
Mhm.
I was experiencing all like another world, but it wasn't a dream. I could feel myself in my body, but then I'd go out, but I
Yeah,
still
yeah.
knew that.
It's like a trance state. That's how I explain to people, like your brain wave is kind of operating in theta, and that's
Yeah,
very easy for us to have lucid dreaming, trance state.
yeah,
When we channel, like we have visions, astral
yes.
travel. That's kind
Mhm.
of where that is. That's beautiful.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I was having this amazing experience, and I wasn't new to those kinds of experiences because part of my evolution has been these types of
Every day.
experiences.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, in this beautiful, like seeing these frequencies, seeing these patterns and this light, and all of a sudden, this memory just popped in from high school that
Mm.
I had completely buried, and it was traumatic. It wasn't like a huge trauma. People have been through worse, but it was for me at the age that it happened. There was just some kind of targeting, some exclusion, some kind of loneliness, and feeling those in that teenager time, where you're
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
like
We're very
everybody's
sensitive in those times. Yeah, understand.
right. You feel
Right,
like you're everybody's turning against you and you're being isolated and so forth
right.
and embarrassed. And
Yeah.
but this memory just came out of nowhere in the middle of this beautiful experience. And as soon as it came up, I was
Mhm.
like, no, get out. Why did that show up? And I'm like, no, I don't want to think about that. And
Mhm.
luckily, I was far enough along on my spiritual journey by then to know, like, pay attention to what, like, that triggered me. And I tried to hide from it. And I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? And I caught myself. I
Mm.
was like, hold on, come back here. Let's remember, show me what happened. Let me feel it. And I felt like this, how old was I at the time? 14, maybe 14, 15,
Mhm.
14, I think. Like this 14-year-old version of myself was kind of peeking her head out to see if she could be included now. And
Mhm. Mhm.
immediately I tried to reject her. until, like I said, then I was like, all right, let's see, what is this? Let me remember what this is. And so
Right.
over the course of several days, I had a whole lot of synchronicities coming about with this, where I was remembering more and more about what had happened. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten it. It was such a big deal when I went through it.
Mm.
And I was like, I can't, I mean, I hadn't thought about it in like 30 years. I couldn't, that blew my mind, because I'm like, what else is in here? I feel like I remember everything, you know?
Right. So it's like
And
your soul kind of reminded you that part of you needs to be healed. It's a good
yes,
information that you receive, and you are
right.
willing to face it then, because your soul has to evolve to a point that, okay, I'm going to face this rather than getting away of it. It sounds like the inner child needs to get
Yes.
some acceptance there. Yeah.
Exactly. And there are so many layers to it, because I
Right.
think that there are the memories that come in that, when you engage with the memories, I think that helps to open us up to more compassion
Mm.
for ourselves and for other people, because when we remember that we've been through things like this, then we're much less inclined, to try to do something like that to somebody
Right.
else. Or, we have more compassion when we see somebody going through something and can
Yeah.
offer a piece of ourselves to them in that way.
Yeah.
But I think that it comes down to one of the biggest healing portions for me was the reclamation of the energy, because
Mm.
I knew that I had locked this part of myself away. I was embarrassed by her. I was ashamed of her. I was scared of her.
Mm.
I didn't want anything to do with her. And so she was frozen, and she was not a part of my energy, which means I had energy I wasn't accessing. I had a frozen part of myself that, in that, for listeners who are familiar with like the toroidal field, that is our energy field. That means there was energy that was not moving within me, that was not part of that field, that was not helping me to connect to my higher self and to, the earth and to the stars. Um, I had this wounded part of myself that was also informing my subconscious,
Right.
protecting me from something like that happening again. But what does that mean? Does it mean that I'm holding myself back? Does it mean I'm avoiding things? Does it mean that I'm, all these ways that I'm trying to keep something like that from happening again, because I'm so afraid of this part of
Mhm.
myself I won't look at?
Yeah,
And
that's right.
so so there was a lot that happened in a relatively short amount of time, in the ways that I worked with this. Now, a friend had bought me a book called Internal Family Systems for Christmas.
Okay.
And I was not interested in this at all. I didn't know what it was. I kept the book on my coffee table, and I was like, maybe someday I'll read this, but I don't even know what it is. So I'd gotten a lot of books. So I was like, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
read these other ones first. Well,
Uh-huh.
I had that experience, and the very next day, I pick up this IFS, Internal Family Systems book, and I am holding it on my lap, but I don't actually start reading it because there's too much happening in my house. We had kids that were over, and there was all this chaos. And every time I tried to start reading it, I got distracted. So I'm just holding this book in my lap, and I
Uh-huh.
never get anywhere with it. I go to coffee the next day with a friend, and I'm telling her about that memory that came up, and how I recognize this part of myself and all the things that I just told you. And she said, "Oh, this is like internal family systems."
Oh,
And I'm like,
wow.
"What's internal family systems?"
You have
And
the
it's
book about
right.
it.
And I said, because I almost started reading about it yesterday
Right.
and I didn't read anything. So why do you say that? And so then she's like, well, it's a psychology method. And
Mhm.
it talks about how we have all these different versions of ourselves that act as, different roles. So we might have the
Right.
protector, we might have the, I can't remember now even what they all were, but and we can talk to them. And so that blew my mind,
Mhm.
that she offered that validation without knowing it, because I hadn't told her anything about almost reading this book.
Yeah.
And
And you
so
almost like as guided. Remember, like you mentioned that prayer, that openness and the acceptance of your higher self. You are literally connecting with your higher self. Show me more, right? And
yeah,
that's when you get the information, And that's when the synchronicity from different angles hitting you. Hey, by the way, that's the solution. Hey, that's the solution.
Right.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting. Yeah. That's how
Right.
you are leaving it. I like
Right.
this example,
Right.
although you are not like consciously, like attached to the, like, okay, this is a very cool differentiate point. I want to point it out. Like you know that something coming in, then you said that you show me more, you allow, you accept, rather than, okay, there is something that need to be fixed, and I need to find the solution or the information to fix it right away. Because sometimes when we are going through dark times, we don't want any of that, so we want to do it really fast. It's almost like, okay, like I need the solution, and give me the result. And if you think of prayer or like getting information like that, is actually really hard. You need naturally or organic flowing. Like from the way you're explaining it, I don't feel like you're attaching to, okay, so like, this is really embarrassing. Let me fix it. Let me fix it now. I need the solution. You aren't doing that. You just let, life still happens, you're going through Christmas and all of these, but then synchronicity comes up. If there's one time you didn't notice, and then there is another opportunity, okay, a friend hits another angle. There are multiple angles until you pick up, okay, so this is the solution. And what end up happen? Now I'm really, really curious to know what's the inspiration.
Yeah. Well, so I worked on this like in meditation, just again, like bringing up this aspect of myself and just wanting to connect with it, wanting to soften it, asking, doing like Ho'oponopono, that ancient Hawaiian prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah.
Doing that with the people that were involved and forgiving them, like using it as a way to help me forgive them. And also asking for forgiveness, because I don't have any memory of like why I was targeted in that way, but it very likely didn't happen in a vacuum, so it could have been that they were trying to get me back for something that I had done intentionally or unintentionally before that. I don't know if that's true, but I'm like, well, something happened that there was this imbalance in order to cause that to happen. So it was asking for forgiveness, asking for help to forgive for what had happened, asking my team, help me to forgive. Like, I just want this dissolved. Let's kind of heal this and make the energy coherent again. And so I don't remember how many, I don't think it was a one meditation and done. Like, I think I felt that I had to do it a few times to really feel that I was resolving it and feel that I was inviting in this part of me, like, please come in. You are worthy. You are welcome. You have gifts for me. Like, be a part of this.
Right.
And so what was really fascinating to me is that I'm not very active on, because I'm not that active on there, I'm not even going to say what platform it is, but one of the social media platforms, I have an account, but I'm not really on there. And because there's not much content on there, I'm like, I don't want to call it out too much, but
okay, no worries.
But this person, the main person that was part of all of this, sent me a message through that platform, and it was just a generic, like, something like, we've been friends for this long, or I can't remember now. It was just like something that was auto created that they sent to me, and we don't have each other's phone numbers. We don't, I don't know if they send birthday messages or, on social media or whatever, but we are not really in touch. And I'm not on that platform. I have an account on that platform, but I'm not on that platform. So it was really strange. I don't even get notifications from this platform. The way that my notifications are set up, I have to be on my phone for the notification to alert me.
Okay.
So it won't just be like they on your
Yeah,
lock screen.
yeah, like a automatic thing. Yeah, that's right.
Right. So
Right.
the timing has to be right. Like I have to be on my phone right when the message
When
is
the message
delivered
comes
for me
through.
to see it.
Right.
And I have so many like unread things from this platform that I'll get, weeks or months later where I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I missed that,"
Yeah.
And it was this specific person who I have not heard from, haven't reached out to, had not done anything in the physical world to connect with this person.
Hmm.
But they reached out to me, and it was at the exact time where I would see it. And for
Wow.
me to see that name show up in front of my physical eyes while I'm going through all of this, I was like, okay, this is undeniable, because as you know, so much of what we do in the psychic world, in the healing world, we use the imagination. We're
Hmm.
doing things in the imaginal realm,
Yes.
which is a hurdle. It can be an obstacle to get over, where we might think like, well, I think I'm doing stuff, but I don't. And if I'm
It's
trying to
almost like the
feel,
3D confirmation of what
yes,
you're doing at your soul level, or the energy, the invisible level
yes,
is working. That's
exactly.
beautiful. That's absolutely
Exactly.
beautiful. And your personal healing journey reminded me of one of my student and client of mine, actually also was working on forgiveness work to her brothers. So it wasn't because she is already older in her stage. One of the brother has already passed, but it's for her own sanity, that because she kept this all her life, that she needs to release it. I think I actually wrote that example in the book. She really need to release that so that she can feel better. Almost, it's like almost like for her also, like forgive herself as well as forgiving the brothers. And we were doing this, at an energy level, and private sessions and things like that. But of course, the brothers, she haven't contacted them for more than a decade. Like, I don't know, she said it's even more, like 20 years they never talk. Even the younger brothers still, live, never talk. And guess what? The same day that we finally felt like there was some kind of conclusion of it, like I can feel her energy coming back to her rather than the stagnant, like the fragment piece is something else, somewhere else, right? Like we both felt really good. And that evening, she got a phone call from her younger brother she haven't talked to for more than a decade. She
Wow.
was like, she hasn't changed her phone number, but it's a number that she didn't recognize. And she normally wouldn't pick up those calls, just like you. She wouldn't normally pick up. She thought it would be sales call, whatever,
Yeah.
because probably her brother had changed the numbers or moving different locations. She picked up that call and her voice was shaking. And it was like, afterwards, she shared that story with me. I was like, oh my gosh, such a your story, what you just told me, is like just exemplify that when we're working at our soul level, even though those prayers, the whole polo or the energy, feel that sometimes we can't see it in our physical eye, but that's actually is going to happen energetically, and it disentangle. It's almost, to me, it's almost like that soul contract resolved. So she
Yeah.
doesn't need to come back and experience that pain anymore. That was the most beautiful part. That was
It's
absolutely
amazing.
beautiful, Kara. Yeah, you just reminded me of that. Like, that's exactly what it is. But it's also really practical, though. I like it that you are kind of embodying. It's not just like, okay, we do this. We have the lower hanging fruit. It's like a, you start with that openness, the prayer, the receiving, and then you let it evolve kind of
Mhm.
organically, and you face it. You don't almost like spiritual bypass it. You don't like, I don't just want to look at the love and light. I face my shadow, I let it come, and then and then synchronicity happen. You get guidance here. Oh, you didn't see it, let's hit it one more time, until you slowly but surely kind of untangle and heal that part of yourself. I'm sure
Yeah.
your life will be much freer and lighter after that healing journey for yourself,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And that's, there's an important point that you made with that, which
Yeah.
is when we don't spiritually bypass and we recognize that we are complex beings and we have all different kinds of energies that are part of our lives, and they are informing our subconscious responses, our reactions, our triggers, even if that means avoiding things because we've been hurt in the past and we don't want that to happen. So we kind of opt out of different things. All of
Right.
those different ways that we may move through life, but we're missing the fullness because we're afraid of these shadows getting kicked up. And through engaging with the shadow, we recognize that it actually, these are wounded. Most often, these are wounded parts of ourselves, even if it comes out where we're lashing out and we seem like fierce, and it shows up like a dragon.
Right.
But it's really coming from this place of hurt and this
Mm.
place of wounding. And we already have been through that with other people. Like the wound often comes because somebody has betrayed us in
Mm.
some way,
Yeah.
often as a child, but not always as a child.
Mhm.
But then that part of us, because it's a real part of us, it's real energy that just stays at that stage. It doesn't grow, it doesn't evolve because it's isolated,
Right.
but it then continues to get rejected by us.
Yes.
It continues to have that wounding reinforced by us, by our action, by our fear of it, and our
Right.
unwillingness to love it and to accept it. And so the more that we do allow ourselves to bravely engage with our shadow, because I know it's not easy,
Yeah.
but we realize that we really don't have anything to fear because it's us. First of all, it's parts of us.
Right.
And it's parts of us that want to be accepted. They want to be seen. They want to be remembered. They want to be included. And really, it goes back to what we talked about with our spirit team, wanting the opportunity to help us so that they can evolve. These are ways that we continue to evolve because we go through the learning. If we still have this stuff buried, we haven't really learned everything that there is or excavated everything that there is to excavate from it yet. It's still kind of dormant there for us to get the gifts. You've got your soul wounds and your soul gifts that are they're central to your work. And in order to get to the gift, we need to heal the wound. And that's how where do we find our wounds? They're in the shadows.
That's right. That's exactly right. So well said, actually. And also, I think healing our soul wounds, because at the conscious level, we're all connected. It's not only lights up ourselves, like our own soul, just like you mentioned, our spirit team want to evolve with us, as well as everyone that's evolved. So we're actually lighting up the whole group, like the souls that you forgive, the souls like they even like message you and call you randomly, like people like that.
Yeah.
So I would say that's how do I say, like once you light up, you give the permissions for other people to do the same. And how would you say that for people thinking doing this work, it's just for themselves, but they are actually influencing other souls to move forward with their own soul evolution journey? And if they feel like they are not influential enough to encourage people to do so, why would you say that as a collective human conscious level, how can we do our part to assist basically others to do the same?
Well, I mean, it's exactly as you say, the more that we heal ourselves, because we are all connected, we bring that wholeness that we are.
Yeah.
And it helps to heal the direct contact that we have where there is, because everything is energy. And I know that people who are listening to this understand that everything is energy.
Yeah.
But when we have wounding, when we have trauma, when we have discord, that energy is not harmonized. It's like, it's all kind of jagged and it doesn't have balance. It doesn't have symmetry. It's just kind of like, like the studies of Dr. Emoto, the water studies. If people are familiar, this is pretty common now that people have seen these images of the crystallization of water. And when the water is spoken to beautifully and lovingly, it's got this coherence to it. It's got symmetry. It's got form. It takes shape. It's bright.
Yes.
But when it is spoken to in a disharmonious way with hateful words and lower vibrational words, and he's done it with music, he's done it with written words and all of this, but over and over again we see it's blobs, it's dark, it doesn't have any coherence, it doesn't have any symmetry to it. And so it's the same when we have these unhealed wounds and we have relationships with people where there's still this contentiousness or there's still these traumas that haven't been addressed. That energy is blobness.
Yeah, that's right. That's such a great
coherent.
visual tool, a beautiful, example of that. So when our energy is in coherence state, all healing and manifestation happen much faster, and we are healthier, happier, feeling loved and supported. When it's like all this, blob, like it's really discord and all that, we feel unsettled, that fear, that unsatisfaction that comes in. So that's, if we're seeking freedom and fulfillment, that's the place to go. That's absolutely beautiful conversation, Kara. I really enjoy it. And I know you're also into sacred geometric as well. So let us know more about, how to work with you, what you have going on, what's your website. I'm going to put it out so people can find your work.
Yes, thank you so much. So I have a book called Your Authentic Awakening, A Guide to Everyday Spiritual Living. And that is available on Amazon and, Barnes and Noble and all those good places. My website is karagoodwin.com. I have a Learn to Meditate course, a self-paced course where you can learn to meditate. And I also have a group called the Healing Hearth, and we meet, online once or so a week and meditate together and have amazing conversation. The people who are in this group are just amazing, amazing people. So it's a really beautiful group with a lot of inspiration, a lot of support. And then my podcast is Soul Elevation. So I've got all those episodes, including your two, soulelevationpodcast.com. And I'll be at the New Living Expo in San Rafael, California in April. I will be at the Sedona Ascension Retreat. I'm not speaking at that one. I am speaking at New Living Expo, but next month I'll be at Sedona Ascension Retreat. I have a booth there, and that's, I think you can find me on Instagram, Kara_Goodwin_meditation. And I'm around.
Great. That sounds great. Yeah, I will make sure to put all the links in the show notes. And thank you so much for this beautiful conversation, Kara. Until next time.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I will see you next Monday.